not being deterred by the external environment's experience. I don't know if you've ever felt that, but you know when you're around someone and it's like they're being so frantic or anxious or maybe even just negative in general, and you feel like it's guiding your experience. You start to be enveloped by this like cloud, and then you detach. Or more so, you move forth with your own sovereign self, your own experience. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. So hello collective, it is Kai. Once again, disclaimer, this is just me video logging, okay? So I'm only speaking from my own experience, my own perspective. In other words, not trying to tell you what to do or what works best for you or that I know all, because I don't. I just am sharing. I went to Noctu's last day of residency at Live nightclub, and literally I'm standing in the crowd. I'm in the front of the second section, not in the like pit area, and I'm standing in the front, and then there's this like whole occurrence right next to me where like suddenly a fight's about to break out, and I'm just like literally for a second I hone into it because I was kind of worried about the girl who was standing next to me. And I did ask her after, I was like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, they were just like, and I was like, yeah, man, just, let it go. And so then even when that was happening actively right next to me, such negative, ready to be violent energy. And obviously people are intoxicated too, so there's also that component. But I looked away, I took a deep breath, and I sighed it out. And I then closed my eyes and started to hone in on the music. And I feel like that truly is something that I really value within myself, my own experience. But it doesn't mean that I can't have my own experience around other people. And I feel like that differentiation is so important for myself, at least, because of being so easily swayed by the emotional experience of others. And I'm sure a lot of empaths out there can resonate with this. But really, for me, especially being spiritual and also someone who reads cards for people, I feel that for empaths, it's almost like with great power comes great responsibility, and having energetic boundaries is just as important. Therefore, being able to face your shadow and be able to admit and acknowledge things that maybe aren't the best for you. And that is truly when you go against your intuition, your gut feeling. And we have this free will, we have this ability to choose. And so just to kind of share my experience as well, because I fucking loved being there, because I hadn't gone out in like months, and going out used to be such a regular thing. And the last time I went to Live for Noctu, actually, I fucking hated waiting in line and being so fucking like muffled by all these people. And this time there wasn't as many people as last time that I went. It was just so nice, because that, like, it's funny because I'm pretty sure Noc is a Scorpio. I'm pretty sure I looked it up, but I'm not entirely sure if that's actual information that's true. But it was just cool because at the end they were saying like bye to everyone and like thank you and stuff, and I was just like, wow, this is so beautiful. It feels intimate despite it being a nightclub. And there is this kind of like stereotypical, maybe even biased on my part, perspective that I had on strip nightclubs. And so it really just brought me back to why I loved going to events and DJing, and like what I learned to love in that art, that form of art. And I mean, if you've been watching me for a while, hello. But if you are new to this, you might not know this information, but I used to be friends with this group of DJs, and I learned the crafts from observing them and watching them and actually trying to DJ myself, which very stimulating. Not really my format or forum, to be honest. But it just was kind of like interesting because I haven't felt that way in a while, where I walked away from an event even towards the end of a set and I'm like, no, like, let this never end, please. But it's cool because I've kind of progressed from that. And it's interesting to be okay with letting things go, but also really allowing myself to experience that emotion. And so I just was driving away from that and I was like, love, so much love for this event, for this artist, for this form of community and art. And I got home, I got ready because I also had to go to work literally the next day. And I just sent a message to Noctu and I was like, thank you. And like, even though, you know, obviously the perspective is just from my own experience and I like can't speak for them, but like for me it matters to give thanks to the moment. And so I let myself experience that moment of like grieving almost. And I feel that even then I've recognized, especially in hindsight, because it happened on Saturday, today is November 11th, 11/11 portal, by the way, love it, Tuesday. And I was just like so differently influenced by this energy of frequency and sound. And I used to ride the wave. I used to be so bruh. I used to literally imagine a fucking tsunami ass wave. That is what I was riding in the past. That is like the best way that I can describe it. And it's just a lot more peaceful. It's a lot more calming. It's a lot less like frantic, and I would actually say it's a lot less unconsciously detached, because to an extent I wasn't actually really paying attention to my surroundings because of such a long period of time of isolation taught me to, yes, depend and rely and trust myself, but also not to pay attention to others. And I've been learning that a lot, especially being at the workplace that I'm working at for about 2 years now, and that's the longest I've ever fucking worked anywhere. Literally. And so it's funny because even as I'm talking about this, I really did want to speak about many different multifaceted ways of talking about a specific thing, but truly it does come back to how I'm wishing to pave my own path and be my own form of love, and being willing to let go of things that just didn't serve me. And that was just an example of it, is that I learned by being so attached to the experience and the connection and the depth of certain things, certain experiences, certain people, it held me back. And I don't mean that to say it's because of them or because of the environment, but because of my own choices. And the only way that I could describe it is that my own approach to expressing and exhibiting my own truth, my own values, my own beliefs, and changing that narrative, changing that perspective has been such a big journey. Because I feel like one of the biggest things that has been coming up for me as of late is, and you know, I'm gonna speak as if possibly, I would hope that maybe it resonates with a few people, but you know, when you so naturally have this part of yourself come out around just serendipitous people that you meet, and then there's these other people, not to like categorize them, but really just like other people that you interact with, and for some reason that part of yourself doesn't get expressed. And it made me really like want to inquire within myself and be like, why is that? And by asking that question, it brought me to the realization that there really isn't a reason why. I also am just stopping myself. It doesn't mean that I don't have boundaries or that I, you know, don't discern when I don't have the space or something like that. It's really just because of where I'm at in my life. I recognized that I was so on guard because I felt like people would take away something within me, as if as if, you know, but really when you grow up in an environment where you feel like you're able to be controlled by other people, whether it's through words or actions, so in other words, abuse, and really it's that level of fear, right? It's being able to open yourself up to potentially being hurt. But not to say that that's the purpose of actually making a different choice. I do feel like it's very rooted in wanting to actually share my love. And so that is something that I'm actively experiencing, is expressing the love and not expecting anything back, despite how much or how intensely or how deeply I feel towards someone. And recently I started to think about this one person that I felt very hurt by and actually became very petty with, if I do say so myself. Like, just to be completely honest with you guys, like, I do feel like a part of me got very egoically hurt, and I became very prideful, and out of spite I started to distance myself from them. But it made me realize that I truly was like self-sabotaging almost. And it's interesting because I started to think back, like, and I kind of simulated in my mind, I was like, okay, if I literally saw them right now, what would be my most immediate response? And it was joy. And then it made me kind of take a step back, bring myself back to the present reality. And then I was like, can I make peace with that? Can I make peace with the fact that despite being hurt by someone, right, even if it was deliberately or not, I still feel joy when I think of this person. And that's not something to be ashamed of, but it doesn't mean that this person is good for me. And not to say that something, or not to define whether something is good or bad, because, you know, we're forever changing, but it's actually to discern how much that experience influenced me and left an impression upon me. And so I kind of was just like, damn, yeah, I am ready to let this go. And I think that I do feel that that comes hand in hand with being able to celebrate who I've become, walking away from connections, walking away from old mindsets, and not plugging into things the same way that I used to. And that takes due diligence, with all due respect. I do feel like that takes due diligence, because sometimes it's so quick, you know, like I just go back to it, I'm like so excited and enthralled and enraptured by this like exaltation of something that's almost so euphoric that I honestly would just get so enveloped by that experience I forgot about my actual reality, how I really felt. And that kind of like, I feel like there is that, like I was saying in many videos these last few times, is the balance game with spirituality is it does require practical involvement in the physical world. And so I realized, like, if I truly wish to change this response to being open to experiencing something different, I have to willingly make a different choice consistently. And I'm not saying that this is what it's like every single time, but truly it allowed me to kind of just open up, but also hone in, be so centered in my core that no matter how someone responds to me, that is, with all due respect, their response. And yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm still actively living my life, so I'm still working on it. And it's a choice. It's a deliberate choice that I get to make, despite the fact that, you know, I'm suddenly getting a strong sense of deja vu. It's just funny. It's just funny because it's kind of like not making things as serious as I used to think of them, because of the fact that I've made conscious choices to move away from a part of myself that felt like she had to work so hard to survive, to be seen, to be heard, to literally exist. To literally just fucking exist. And then by doing that, it really brought up the question of, what does it actually look like, feel like, mean to you to exist? What is the emotional experience like? Where do you wish to guide yourself? Who do you actually see yourself as? And especially being someone who's delving into the career of cartomancy and divination and spiritual practices as like my profession, it requires a lot of fucking faith, really. Not just in the universe, but truly in myself. Am I willing to pick myself back up? Am I willing to work through things that maybe are challenging for me? Am I willing to try something different, to welcome in new experiences, new perspectives, new clientele? Like, these are all things that I actively witness in my life. And so hand in hand, by having that awareness, but also the desire and the will to create something. I was reading a post about this recently about the relationship between your awareness and your free will. And it's interesting because that is something that can be very, like, how do I describe it? Interconnected. It's something that you can build with, something that can truly fulfill you. And I am a firm believer that we truly can be the creator of our own, like, debilitation, our own destruction. That's why I feel that there is such thing as disease and things like that. And that's what I've had to question too, because I went to the doctors today and I literally threw up. And it was just like, yeah, like, damn, I'm literally here to get help. And that's truly such an evident situation of me understanding that I don't know what will help me. And by being willing to ask for help from someone outside of me, and it is kind of like still addressing, like, am I putting myself on a pedestal? Do I think that I know better? Things like that, because of, you know, being conditioned to be hyper independent, that trauma response of hyper independence bleeding into my life, and me actively making an effort to uncondition myself so that that's not like an immediate response that I have to certain situations. So moving forward from that, right, it's just been imperative for me to just recognize and do exactly what I want, especially these last few days. I'm pretty sure Venus is in Scorpio, Mercury retrograde started in Sagittarius, and that's honestly hilarious because someone in my TikTok community was like, because I've been doing readings and it's been like Sagittarius energy so much. I've never had such a consistent energy come through. And it was just like, they commented like, oh, it's maybe because of the Mercury retrograde that's going to happen in Sagittarius. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much fucking sense. And it's funny because that is still a moment where I have to understand that I don't know everything. I don't know everything. And that's the fucking point. Is that there is a level of discovery and adventure no matter where I go. But when my ego is so prideful and starts to put up walls and just really just tries to make it seem like I would know better than another person, it's just, that is the moment where I make an effort to relax and chill the fuck out, because truly that is when I feel that I'm opening myself up to a perception that maybe I've yet to access. And it could have something to do with information exchange. It could have something to do with me not having that level of information that someone else may have or can retain, and not comparing myself to them. I hope this makes sense, because I really feel that a lot of the time it can be either something that fulfills you or empowers you, or something that you just mill over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I feel like that is truly the stagnancy of creative power, is when we start to procrastinate, when in reality you just need to do something. And I feel like, especially as someone who used to be an INFJ and is now an INFP, it's so funny, but like that level of planning and being so like type A personality and just really uptight in my life. I felt more stressed. I literally lost hair in high school because of how stressed I was, because I wanted or felt the need to control things. And this is just, you know, my own journey, so I can't speak for another person because what works for me may not work for you, you know? And I feel like that's just something I really want to repeat over and over again because it's true. We are all connected, yes, but we have our own uniqueness. And I feel like that is just something to celebrate. It's not something to divide us between other people, but like, you know, everyone to their own, because I'm just focused on maintaining my own path. And not even maintaining, what the fuck am I saying? Like literally, not even maintaining. Who am I kidding? It's literally just trying the best that I can to the best of my ability every single day. Being present in the moment. Making adjustments, trying new things, doing what I love, learning more about what I love, really. That's what I feel like doing tarot has taught me. Doing this has taught me. It's just like I'm learning to love more of what I love in such a different way. And you think that because you know that you love it, that is what it's always going to be. No, it's like there are definitely times where I experience like kind of like a low or just like a less verbal side of myself, especially because I'm literally just talking to you guys. It's like that is still something just as sacred as me talking to you guys. You know what I mean? It's a choice, really. It's a choice, it's a perspective, and we are all capable, truly, of tapping into different perspectives. Switching the narrative, being open to something that maybe you were dissenting against for a long period of time. Like, I definitely know how that feels. And so that's why I'm more than happy to share my experiences with you guys and be the person. Just because I think sometimes because of how natural this comes to me now, especially, I do hear that perspective of like, damn, like I could never do that. I could never just talk about blah, blah, blah. Like I've had people say that when I share with them, like I just video log on YouTube. And it's like, it's funny because to me that really just doesn't make sense. Because I don't feel the need to understand that way of living, because that's not, it's like it's like when you don't ask advice from people whose lives you wouldn't want to live, you know? You only really want to ask advice from people whose lives you would want to live, but truly who are we to know what actually their life is like, really? You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why I deliberately make an effort to put the disclaimer in the videos, because living your own life is literally the guidance that you need. And it's so ironic because I feel like this kind of is like the antithesis of my whole YouTube channel. It's like, yes, I'm being perceived. Yes, there's people that are going to resonate with me, but there's plenty of people who aren't going to resonate with me. And this is just my own form of creative work, and it really, that's the only real meaning that it has to it. I feel like this might be like almost like an out-of-pocket thing to say, but like I don't wish for the things that I experience, or like the quote-unquote maybe even advice that I give, to be something that you actually base your life on. I want it to be literal seed that you put into your soil, you know? And it's a seed that you get to decide if you even want to plant it or not. So it's like, that is already your own. The moment my words go into your ears and into your brain, it is now your own. And that is why I feel that, like, especially when it comes to expressing with words, it's so important to be detached. Because people will literally skew. I was reading, oh my god, such a fucking good example. I was reading this fucking manhwa today, and I was getting so internally frustrated because like it's a reincarnation manhwa where she gets reincarnated as a villainess, and like she makes an effort to change her life because she's from, her past life is like living in Korea, and then like current day Korea, and then it's like in a novel she gets reincarnated into as the villainess. And it's like she makes all the right moves, develops the greenhouse, lowers taxes, changes the fertility of harvesting, like all these really good things, helping the people. And then literally these bruhs come into the fucking picture because the Duke went to war at a really young age and was there for like 7 years, and then comes back, and then all these new people are coming here and they're just judging her. They're just literally judging her. And no matter what she fucking does, even if she's quiet, even if she says something, it's like they still have their own doubts about it because they're painting the picture. Oh, it was really frustrating because it was just like, God, it's just like literally they don't even ask her any fucking questions, you know? And like that is one of the things that used to trigger me the most because, you know, like they say that Scorpios are like very misunderstood, the sign, the people who have that sign as a whole. And I really don't like tapping into stereotypes, but truly, when you feel misunderstood, and I mean this as a human to human experience, like I literally mean this as a person, like disregarding the astrological aspects of that, but like being misunderstood and having conversation with someone where no matter what you're fucking saying, literally none of the words are actively going into their brains. And I don't say this as in like to disregard the experience of the person that's listening, or maybe they're not even fucking listening really, because simply put, I feel like that's the case, is like when you're talking to the wrong fucking person, they're not even going to give you the time of day. And that was the distinction, going back to what I was talking about before, like that was the distinction that I realized, is that I was telling this person that I cared, that I really wished to spend more time and get to know this person, but it didn't matter. And I say that because it matters to me. It matters to me that I spend time with people and that I share with them, that I show them that I care. But that is because I spend that time with myself. And when I don't do that, it translates into my relationships. And I realized that recently because my birthday is coming up and typically I'll spend it alone. And sometimes I'll have that question where I'm like, am I isolating myself? But then it's not my birthday yet, right? But I feel like I'm so tired, dude. Like I feel so tired. Like no matter how much I sleep, I still feel tired. And like the things that I used to enjoy aren't as enjoyable. And I feel like I need, now it's not just a want, I need time with myself to just not hear anything. And that's crazy because I'm literally talking to you guys and I'm all alone, right? But sometimes you need to do what you gotta do. And for me, I'm gonna go to LA, you know? Like I wasn't going to because it's gonna rain. But I actually love rain and I also love lightning. So hopefully there is lightning because I really do like rain and lightning. It's just when some people drive in the rain, it's kind of like, bruh, just don't freak out. It's a natural element, okay? Think about the friction that is no longer there, you know, like let's just be chill. But anyways, that's besides the point. So yeah, that is the video log. I don't know, that was just me expressing. Once again, sometimes I come to this and I'm like, what even did I just fucking say? What? But yeah, life's been pretty good though, you know, despite the eating disorder and, you know, all that other fucking shit. It's like I've celebrated my birthday on Saturday with some family friends. I had dinner, we hung out, and it was really chill, it was really cute. The kiddos are so cute. Then I went out that night to the nightclub and I had so much fun. It was so good. And then I had to work and it was super chill because it was a really big head count that day, and I'm really happy and proud that I got through that. And then I rested. I conked out these last 2 days. I had gone to the doctor, but the appointment was being so pushed back that I had to go to work. I couldn't even go to the appointment. Life, man, it's beautiful. As chaotic as it might be unpredictable, but there is still order in the unpredictable nature of it, and I love it. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much for allowing me the space to speak and for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being alive, motherfucker. And I'm sending you so much love and support on your own spiritual journey. Bye, collective.